So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm inside the IDE. If you'll notice in the graphic toolbox, we have the name of the this is the galaxy we're working in, the Orchestra Scripting Galaxy. I'm going to create a new graphic tool set inside the graphic toolbox. And I'm just going to call this one Tutorial 1. There we go. And then once I've created that, I'm going to create a new symbol. And the two symbols that we're using in this tutorial are button and display. So let's do button first. So this is just going to be, button, the button graphic is going to be a graphic, and we'll double click on it to get the graphic. This is the graphic editor. So we're going to grab a button right here, pull it down, and what we're going to do is, so this is going to be the button, and this is actually going to wind up being our caller. This is our caller symbol. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to blank out the text that's on there by default by going to the text property and just clearing that. And then I'm going to create a text element here, and you can put anything here. I'm going to put the hash mark because it really doesn't matter. I will go ahead and make it bold, and let's center it up. So hold the shift key down. Any two elements, you do that by holding the shift key down. Anything you select gets grouped. I'm going to do the align centers, and that'll clear that up. So then I'm going to, next thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to go ahead and create my two properties that are going to exist in this guy. So I'm going to actually have a couple of strings. So the default is Boolean. We'll change that in a second. So this is going to be the button label property. And so we're going to change that to string, and it's a public property. Okay, so the next thing, then the next property we're going to have is going to be the pop-up reference. And the pop-up reference is going to be a string as well, but it's going to be a reference to a string, kind of like a pointer. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now if you notice this option right here, by clicking this, it becomes either expression or reference. When you see the T, that's just an expression. It's going to be a pure string, and whatever you see is what you get. Now once I click that dude though, and I get the little tag symbol, that is it's no longer static text. It's now a reference. So as soon as I do that though, because there's nothing in here, I get a red warning around there. And if you notice, I have a warning triangle here telling me there's something wrong. And what's wrong is you can't, it's needing something in here. You can't leave it blank. So in Orchestra, you can use three hyphens or dashes to indicate that this is a placeholder. So basically what we've done now is we've created our two properties. One is a string, static string. One is a reference, string reference. So then I can come over here and let's go ahead and double click this guy, and now I can come to my animations pane, and I'm going to add an animation. And this is going to be a value display, string, and then it's going to be button label. So whatever is in the button label static is what I want to display right here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click the button itself, and I'm going to build a script. And this script is going to be the kind of the key, the action script. This is going to be the key to what this thing actually does. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dimension the graphic info. And we're going to create that as a data type. It's as, and we're going to use AA graphic, which is the graphic access library, and graphic info type. And then so that's our first line. We're going to establish from the graphic access library a graphic info type as graphic info. And then we're going to take that graphic info, and you'll notice depending on the version of Orchestra you have, now this is version 2014, and they instituted IntelliSense, and basically that's where we can see which objects are actually exposed for us. You won't have that capability in earlier versions. But in this version, all I have to do is just click it, And now there's my graphic info. And the property I want off of that is the identity property. So we'll scroll down and find the identity. So I'm going to assign the identity of this graphic info instant or object that I'm going to be creating is going to be my pop-up reference. So whatever is referenced in pop-up reference is what gets assigned, and that's where actually where I'm going to use. This is how we're going to tell the symbol who it belongs to inside the system platform. The next thing we're going to do is, okay, we'll do graphic info again, and this time the property we're going to go with is the graphic name. And under graphic name, what I want to do is this will be the name of the other graphic. So the display symbol, which is what we're going to be creating next, is actually what we're going to be identifying with here. I mean, okay, that's what we're going to use to create the instance of the graphic that's going to show up. That's would be the called symbol. So okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we'll use an if statement, and we're going to use isGood, and isGood is a method that allows us to check attributes to see if they are valid. So if the object that's referenced that we're going to reference in pop-up reference is good, then we're going to go forward. So this allows us to not get hung up by trying to reference and access things that don't exist or aren't ready. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to a system, which is this is literally a .NET library that we're accessing now, and we're going to take a look at the string under system, and we're going to use the isNull or empty, and again we're going to take a look at pop-up reference. Let's open that up so we can see it. So this time, and that becomes our if-then statement. So if all this is good inside here, then we're gonna go ahead and make our assignment graphic info to the owning object. And now this is really the working part of this thing, and what the real magic happens right here. So what happens here is, so if everything's good, if the object that's referenced here exists, and it's not a null or empty, then we're going to go ahead and assign that to make that, so this display symbol, which we haven't created yet, we'll create that next. The display symbol will be created as an instance and assigned to the object that is referenced in the pop-up reference variable, and it then will literally become the owner of that symbol. So now, once all this happens and we're good to go, we're going to show the graphic. And the graphic we're going to show is the one that we've created in graphic info. There you go. All right, so that is the script. That's what happens whenever this guy gets clicked. We'll save it. And here's where you can make notes to yourself on, checked in. We'll just say created button display, or button symbol. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do then is go ahead and do that display. So we'll say new symbol display. The display symbol, this is actually going to be the template for instances that get created whenever the button is clicked. So go to the editor, and now just as a little trick here, I'm going to set the scope of the size of this symbol. So this white square here, and whatever size I decide here, is what's actually going to appear whenever I click that button. So let's just use some text here, and I'm going to actually, and the whole purpose of this tutorial is actually to show that we're going to pull a couple of values two ways, one with the native script accessing the .NET libraries, and then also with a custom script. What we're going to do here is we're going to go, this is going to be the computer name. Okay. And then the other one we're going to do is substitute a string, call this username. Okay. So, and then here, I'll go ahead and get a couple of text elements where this is where we're going to actually attach our, you can line these up by using these alignment tools here. Center them. Make sure these guys are centered vertically. Okay, so now that this is actually what's going to show up. So I think what I'm going to do just for aesthetics is just kind of put these guys in a little better. Yeah, it's kind of in the center there. All right, so now we're going to create our two properties. Excuse me, scratch that. This one will not have properties because what these guys are going to physically do is by animation, we're going to create value displays, and they're going to be strings, but the string reference is going to be me dot computer name. So these are literally going to be references that we're going to be able to access in the object in the system platform that we're going to create. So just remember that me.computername, me.username is going to, because remember what the button does is it assigns this whole graphic as being owned by an object in the galaxy. So this is just going to be a picture, a visualization of what's in the galaxy. And let's see, we'll say created display template.